So how did you source this?
Internet, baby.
Welcome to Season 2 of the Knife Wife podcast. I'm Suz, here with my husband,
Bob Terzuola.
We're professional creatives and entrepreneurs who live, love, and work together. We share our stories to find ourselves in others. P.S. This podcast has little to do with knives. Hey, everybody. It's Suz again here on the Knife Wife podcast. I'm here with my partner in crime, Fun Bobby.
Fun Bobby, that's me.
Bob Terzuola.
Hello.
And he's getting to be Fun Bobby all the time. And welcome to a podcast that is about everything and nothing. Actually, it's about creatives and people who are entrepreneurs and people who are outside the box. We ask questions that no one asks. And I'm having a late in life crisis. Which someone just asked the question, what is that? And I don't know what it is. It's a term I made up because I'm way past the age of a midlife crisis, so I'm having a late in life crisis. I'm doing things that I wanted to do or I didn't know I wanted to do. Who knew what podcast was when I was 40? Nobody ever heard of them. But I'm doing things that I'm like, well, I better do it now, because if not, when? Right, Bobby?
That's right.
So what else? I wanted to get up to 1 million followers. I was looking at a media company, but I didn't realize when they were looking at me that they were looking at me to represent me and not Bob. I was hoping to grow his followers, but it looks like, it looks like I'm growing
Empire. That's a great word, Thom. Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, by the way, say hello to Thom. Thom Westergren, say hello.
Hello.
Yeah, so I'm not going to probably get Bobby up to 1 million followers, but this year I'm working on my own stuff, and I've been doing 10 minutes. I got a clean 10 minutes now.
Why not 1 million followers?
Oh, because the company is working on me, not you. Remember?
Well, I'm working on my second $1 million, you know.
Your second million?
Yeah, I gave up on the first million, so I'll try the second million.
I see. Okay. For those of you who know, you know that I've been dabbling in this. I don't know that I'm actually going to be a comedian. I may just go back to making people laugh in the back of the classroom. But I'm on a new road, and I haven't given up my pattern design by any means. In fact, I was working on it yesterday. But I'm the oldest, 69 years old and starting a comedy career. They say it takes 7 years to find your voice. I told them, well, I don't have that long, so I better find it fast. So what else? I have a show coming December 17th downtown in San Diego. You can reach me at Suz at Eccentric Suz or Eccentric Suz on Instagram. And Fun Bobby will be at the show. I talk a lot about Fun Bobby in the show, and he'll be sitting in the audience. I don't know how that's going to work.
I'm going to put a paper bag over my head so nobody knows who I am.
Yeah, they'll all know who. They can't wait to meet you, a lot of these people. So anyway, we're here with Thom today, and Thom is a true entrepreneur in my mind. I've known him
38 years, I think.
38 years. How good? You can't be that old. I'm that old.
I had to do the math, yeah.
Wow.
I think it would have been 1986 or so.
Yeah. But anyway, we worked together, and he was a great employee, let me tell you. He was a thinking man, and I thought, why is this guy doing this? This guy's so smart. Why is this guy doing this? And they didn't do this forever. And so tell us a little bit about your company and tell us why you started your company.
Well, I didn't know where I was going to fit this in, so I'll put it right here at the very beginning.
Okay.
You told me back in 1986,
Mm-hmm.
you said, I think you had created a company making dolls.
No, soft sculpture, but
soft
close.
sculpture.
Close,
Okay,
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
This is a euphemism, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, you told me that you start a business, and once you start a business, it's not so much the passionate fun stuff goes away, and it's just running a business.
Yep.
And I told myself that that was repeating in my head for years and years.
I'm so sorry.
And no, it's okay. It was a good warning, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Went into it with a clear head, you know?
Yeah, your expectations were in check, that's for sure, because it's still a business. I think I said to you, at the end of the day, it's a business.
Exactly. So I did graphic design for about 30 or so years. Went into that thinking, I'll do it until I don't enjoy it anymore. And I started not enjoying it with the advent of the internet and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The business, I don't know. I was basically just looking for a career change. After 30 years of graphic design, I didn't so much like dealing with pixels. I was used to paper and X-Acto knives and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The old school way.
The old school way before
Yep,
Photoshop and Illustrator and all that stuff. Yeah.
exactly. Tried to keep up and could only keep up for so long. And the big thing was just holding my work in my hands.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that anymore because I was creating banner ads and emails.
Yeah.
So had a job at a company called Corporate Express, which was bought out by Staples.
Oh,
And they were actually bigger. The B2B side of that company was actually bigger than Staples
tell
at the
people what
time.
B2B is, because not everybody knows
Oh
what that
yeah,
is.
business to business, selling from a business to a business.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, so Staples came in and had a leveraged buyout and bought up Corporate Express. They told us, me and several other people, they wanted their graphics department to be in Boston, and so they gave us a year and said, either move to Boston or bye bye.
Uh-huh.
So I said, I'm not moving to Boston. So I had been thinking about a career change and had been interested in solar since the Carter administration,
Wow,
basically.
Jimmy. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I gave a presentation in 8th grade on renewable energy,
Ah.
and I can't believe how far we haven't come actually
I
in all
know.
that time. So how can't believe it took so long to finally get things moving. Anyway, where was I?
You were telling us how you started your business? Yeah, it's okay.
Learn creating. Yeah, yeah. So I was thinking about what I could do, and so I started to take some classes in solar. Took a thought about solar engineering and found out quickly that engineers tend to go right to the numbers, and I definitely am not a person that goes right to the numbers.
I feel you.
And so I figured, yeah, that's not going to be good for me. But just in doing so, in the meantime, we got solar installed on our own house, and immediately we had pigeons nesting underneath the panels.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And that was weird. Well, the reason for that is because the development where I live is an old airport, and the parking structure at the airport was left vacant for 15 years and then torn down.
Hmm.
Well, you can imagine what was living in that parking garage for 15 years, the number of pigeons that had that as their home.
And this is Colorado, so this is a nice,
Yes.
warm, safe place that does out of the elements.
They got evicted.
Yep, they got evicted and they had to go somewhere.
They came to you.
Yeah, being a new development, there were no trees or any place for them to go, and so
Mhm.
and it's also a quote green development, and so there are lots of solar all over the place,
Mhm.
and so they all decided to go underneath the solar panels. So started looking around and trying to find a solution. I called the installer and said, "What do you do about this?" And they said, "Well, we don't have a solution, but we'll do something for cost." And I said, "Well, why don't you send me photos of what you do?" And I didn't like what they had.
Ah.
And so I spent the next 6 months crawling around on my roof and a neighbor's roof and looking at all the houses around my neighborhood, and I could see that the installers were trying to do something about the problem, but they weren't really coming up with anything.
It wasn't working.
Yeah, exactly.
The droppings are the telltale, right? The side.
Yeah. So just for fun, being a I don't know, hardware kind of guy,
Uh-huh.
that was my idea for a new career was to do something really tangible, something in like hardware or some hard goods.
Mhm. Something you could touch.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And so anyway, I ended up coming up with a design, ended up presented it to a local solar installer show and got some customers from them, and then got a customer that was a local distributor, and just started selling the stuff.
And so tell us what it is, if you can describe it.
Yeah. Well, the simple term is hardware cloth,
Mhm.
but it's hardware cloth, and then I had developed a special way to fold it and make it work in that setting and be adjustable for different heights.
Mm.
And it's basically a screen, and it has a PVC coating on it to keep it protected from the elements and make it disappear into the shadows. And then I had to develop a hard piece of hardware to hold it in place because if you drill holes into the panels, you void the warranty.
Oh, okay.
And so they needed a way to install it without harming the panels.
So you developed that. And so that I'd say that's your bailiwick. That's something you'd be really good at.
That was the big development, was that hardware. Unfortunately in this, it wasn't patentable. So it's, now it's being copied, but initially I had no competition. So it was really easy to sell.
Well, easy to sell, but how do you make it? Where did you, I mean, you had to coat
Oh.
this hardware cloth, and then you had to come up with, what are they made out of? What do you use? Is it plastic or?
The screen is really a commodity. It's been sold since before the 50s. It's a commodity good. I think we talked about it. People put it underneath, bury it in the yard to keep ground squirrels and stuff out of their garden.
My
Or
whole chicken coop is framed in it, but it doesn't have PVC. It doesn't have anything coating on it. It's just metal.
the PVC coating is a little bit different. It's used, sometimes it's used in zoos and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I just do tons and tons of looking around on Google searches with using Google Images. And I was looking at hardware, and I crawl around on my roof trying to figure out a way to do it and trying to figure out the best solution, and buying hardware and buying tools, just a bunch of different stuff. Fortunately, my wife had trusted me, knew I knew what I was doing,
Mm-hmm.
but
Well, you make it sound like you know, even if you don't.
right, yeah.
For those who don't know, hardware cloth is not cloth.
No.
It's a metal screen.
That's what they called it when I was a kid. The term that's more common now is wire cloth.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
But yours is coated with a PVC, so it keeps it from rusting and the
Right.
elements and falling apart.
Yeah, before the wires where they cross are welded together. After the welding, they actually do a zinc coating on there that protects it from rust.
Uh-huh.
And then the PVC coating protects it even further. But an unexpected advantage is that it makes it a little bit easier to bend.
It does.
It makes
Yeah.
it holds its form better.
Mm. So perfect
And-
for under solar panels or round solar panels.
Yeah, you can use thinner. You can use a little bit thinner wire, and it holds its shape really well. And even with that stuff, when I first started buying it, it had such a thick coating on it. You could roll it out, and it would stay rolled up. It wouldn't come roll back up on you. So that makes it easier to cut too.
Yes, because the other stuff is a pain in the drain to
Yeah.
cut.
Exactly.
Yes. So how did you source this? I mean, I know it's available, but did you have any struggles in sourcing it?
Internet, baby. There's no way without the internet, I would have been screwed. I mean, or it would have been a lot more work.
Mm-hmm.
I just would have been tons and tons of phone calls.
It didn't arrive at your door. You had to do the footwork on the internet. I'm a lousy Googler.
Do you know what we used before the internet? There was a series of books called the Thomas Register.
Yes,
And
I was
they
going
were
to say.
big, enormous green books, kind of like, it looked like an encyclopedia with many books. And they had everything that was available in terms of materials and hardware and tools and sourcing supplies and everything, called the Thomas Register. I don't even know if they're still in business.
Yes,
but,
they are.
They
That's what
are?
it was then.
I still use that, Bob. I use ThomasNet. It's called ThomasNet. It's probably the same company.
Okay,
And
yeah, I'm sure it is, yeah.
You punch in there what you're looking for, and they give you all the manufacturers in the United States that have it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I used some of that too. But the problem was the screen was only available in like 36 or 48-inch wide pieces.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't really thinking big yet, and so I was out in the park across the street from our house, cutting the screen by hand with a pair of hedge shears.
As one does.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I would have to cut that to 8-inch widths, and that's what I brought to the solar show that was local and showed to my potential customers here. Now that we've been doing it, I mean, I've been doing it for 12 years, and now that I have competition and other people who are going around me and even my competition and buying from the suppliers in China or here, now they make it to 6 and 8-inch widths, And instead of being cut from a big roll, it's actually coated with the PVC after being cut. And so you have a nice clean edge. Instead of having a cut edge, you have the PVC coating the whole thing.
Yeah, so nobody has to roll it out in the park across the street anymore.
Exactly.
So these sections of screen go around the periphery, around the edge of the solar panel.
Yeah, between the solar panel itself and the rooftop.
Okay. Are solar panels today a standard size? Is there one size of solar panels?
I wish.
Uh-huh.
They're not. I talked to a solar engineer at a manufacturer, and he said the bigger they make them, he said they'll make commercial panels that are keep getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I see them on parking lots and parking lots here. Yep.
And the big inside joke with the manufacturers is they try to make them big enough that a residential installer won't use them, and they said they'd do it anyway. So they
Of
make them
course.
bigger and bigger, and the residential guys see them, and they buy them, and they put them on houses.
Yeah. Okay. You know, we got solar on our house, and Bob has an app on the phone where he was watching the power that, for a while it was very fun to see how much power we were housing and whatever. We
Yeah.
don't have a battery. We don't have the batteries on the side of the house, so it's only as good as what we get. But there's at least once a week somebody knocks on our door trying to sell us solar for our house, and they can't see that the panels are on the back of the house. But I think I would not buy solar from some guy that just knocked on my door.
Yeah.
I would want a little bit of more, provenance and, and their business history.
Yeah.
But I mean, once a week, I'm not exaggerating, somebody knocks on our door and we say, we already have it. And they say, no, you don't. Like, well, actually we do.
We do. It's only in the back of the house. You can't see it from the street.
Because, I'm in the aesthetically pleasing committee. I would not want them on the front of my house. Oh, no. So, but Tom understands that about me more than probably anyone who's ever known me.
Tom, when I met you in Denver a while back, you were explaining to me about these clips that you had developed, and I assume that's because you can't drill into the frame of the solar panel. You told me that voids the warranty, and
Right.
So to attach these strips of hardware screen, I guess you could call it, you developed and invented this a type of clip, I guess, that snaps or clips onto the edge. Is that right?
Yes, it's that was the Google image search was a big help with that. I was just looking at all kinds of hardware because I didn't want to start from scratch because I didn't know if it would sell. So and I had to try it out on my own house too. First, I'm not going to make a custom piece of hardware for my own house. So it's basically adapted from another industry. And I actually bumped into a guy who is a big electrical supplier and showed it to him, and he had heard about the problem. And I actually started off with a royalty agreement with him.
Ah,
We tried working a royalty agreement where he would sell and I would sell, and I had a slightly different design. And then after a while, I decided, I don't want him selling my thing. I'm gonna go my separate way and sell it on my own. So, but this guy's eyes lit up when he knew, because he had somebody that worked for him who had. Well, we should probably tell what the real problem is. It's not just pigeons.
what is the real problem?
The real problem is pigeons and squirrels.
Oh,
Squirrels are bad because they'll chew on the wires and they'll take down a system. So that's probably not as common of a problem, but it's a bigger problem if you have it. Because you got to take all those panels off, inspect your wires, make sure you find all the spots where they chewed on the wires. Because even if it doesn't happen right away, years down the line, moisture getting into those wires will cause them to start corroding, and it'll take your system down.
sure. And I think we should make wire that squirrels don't find tasty.
I know.
In cars, they do it in cars all the time. They eat the coated wire, right? That's what they eat. And let's make wire. How hard is that? I mean, we got guys sending rockets up and landing them on a dime. Well, can't we figure out wire that doesn't taste good to squirrels?
It's the coating.
It's the coating. The coating. Yeah, well, make bad tasting coating. What don't squirrels like to eat? Figure that out. Spray it.
Well, I had a squirrel in my car in Santa Fe. And
He was not driving.
and my dog Buck, a big dog, tried to chew my bumper to pieces. It was a chrome-plated bumper, but it had a plastic coating on it to protect it. And he just chewed that plastic right off. And he tried to get at that squirrel, and he just and never did get at the squirrel.
Buck wasn't really much of a hunter. The only thing he did was Bob had baby birds living in a mailbox that he was outside Bob's shop window. And I was watching them and I thought, how are they going to get out of there at some point? Because Buck was always there. And one day Bob is in the shop and Buck is outside and the baby birds decided to fly out of the mailbox. And Buck just opened his mouth like an airplane hangar and they flew right in and he swallowed them one after the other. And Bob's running around, stop, stop, stop. Too late, ate all the birds. So that's the food chain. Anyway, so when you started your company, what I'm interested in is, you said that your wife was really, she trusted you or something that she said, okay, but were you scared? I mean, starting your own company is a scary thing.
Well, I was desperate.
Mm.
Yeah, I was scared, but kind of desperate too. And I got a little bit of a severance package and was doing freelance work on the side. And my wife tells me after the fact, she says, well, she was thinking about what the worst case scenario was. And that was basically moving into my mother-in-law's basement.
Oh, fun. Okay.
So she was ready for that. And it never got anywhere close to that. So it worked out.
So I'm glad she was quiet about that because he wouldn't want to hear that.
No.
No. So anyway, and have you done really well? So you have the clip, you have the screen. Is there any other products? Because you're always thinking of stuff.
Well, then I was online snooping around the internet, like I said, and found someone outside of Santa Fe that had a similar product. But I like to say my first product protects from animals, and my second product protects from people.
Oh,
So there's two basic types when it comes to residential solar. Is you got rooftop that goes up on on the house, and then they've got ground mount also that's installed on the ground.
right. We had a neighbor in Albuquerque that their entire backyard was solar panels. Lovely to look
Yeah.
at. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They blinded you at a certain time of day too.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
Oh, lovely. I'm getting the solar 101 here. Okay.
The problem with the ground mount is that the solar safety standards are set by the National Electric Code. And it covers all buildings and, residential buildings, homes and commercial buildings and everything, but it also covers solar.
Hmm.
So the National Electric Code states that you need to have the wiring inaccessible so that someone doesn't come up and touch it and mess around with it.
Electrocute themselves?
Yeah, they could electrocute them. They try to slice a wire and they got 600 volts of electricity right there. So,
Ah,
or
shocking.
1,000
Hmm.
sometimes. Yeah. So this guy was putting his solar. He had this amazing property with a vineyard and a pool house and everything. And he was putting up solar and his wife said, well, just make sure it's pretty.
Ha ha, I like her.
Yeah. So he did, and he decided he needed some way to block off the back of it and everything, and then he figured out a way to do that, and then the installers said, "Well, you could do it this way too. It would be much easier." So then he had two ways of doing it, and he was starting to try and sell that, and I happened upon him online, and I called him up and I said, I'd be interested in. I said our businesses are similar. I'd like to meet and just talk shop, and he said, well, if you're interested, I've been looking for either a general manager or somebody to buy the product.
Mm.
And I just said, well, I'd be interested in the latter. And so I went out to Santa Cruz and saw his stuff and he showed me how they did things and it went from there.
You went from there and you bought it.
Yeah.
And so what is it?
It's not shade cloth. It's similar to shade cloth. It's a cloth plastic knit material that goes on the back. So we make these custom tarps to go on the back of the solar panels. And it doesn't cover the whole thing. It just covers up where the wires are.
Hmm.
So basically, the need that it serves is that most of the inspectors assume that the way you're going to keep people away from your wires is to put a fence around the system.
Mm-hmm.
But you got like vineyards in Napa and small farms in New England that don't want to put up fences. And so rather than putting up a fence, which is usually chain link, we just put something on the back of the panels, and that covers up where the wiring is, and that way people can't touch it.
Right. And we meet code and, done and done. Cool. So those are your products that you sell
Yes,
now.
those are the
Okay.
two main products. Yep.
Okay, they go well together. So tell me a little bit, what is the best part about working for yourself and what is the worst part about working for yourself?
Well, the best part is that you own it
Mm-hmm.
and you're only responsible to yourself.
Yeah. Nobody
Uh,
can move you to Boston unless you want to go.
exactly. And
Mhm.
all the profits are yours.
Mm-hmm.
When I started, I met a lot of people over the years who had started their own businesses and had hired people and said they were miserable after hiring people, or that they made less money. After they had hired numerous employees, they made less money than they did when they were on their own.
Yep.
So in addition to the advice that you gave me way back when, my other little thing that was needling around in my head was, I don't want to have employees.
It certainly makes it easier.
Yeah.
Well,
So
sort of.
I committed to not having any employees and just doing it on my own. The funny thing is, when I was telling people what I was doing, I had three different people. I was telling people what I was doing, and I was crawling around up on the roofs and experimenting and stuff. And people said, and I said, well, I'm too old to do that, or I'm getting old, too old to do that. And three different people said, well, you only do that initially, and then you hire people. And each time that I was told that, my heart started pounding.
Mm.
I knew that I did not want to have employees.
Yeah, that's pretty much how Bob feels. We have a team now, a team of a lot of part-time people that I manage pretty much, but he doesn't like any of that. He doesn't want anybody in the shop. He doesn't want, he doesn't want to deal with anybody. He yells at me, "Oh, why do we have these people?" Because I can't do everything myself.
Right.
And that's the reality. But you seem to have worked it out. So what's the worst part about working for yourself?
Well, that's
That.
you hinted at it. That's the worst. The worst part is that if I were to hire somebody to do what I do, it would not be me. It would be someone else, because I don't really have the skills that are required. I mean, I can come up with I came up with the idea. I could do the hardware. I can kind of do the marketing, which I don't really do much of, but
Mm-hmm.
accounting and keeping track of inventory and all that boring stuff like that, I'm horrible at it.
I feel you, honey. I know.
Yep.
I know. That's why we have Fun Bobby.
He doesn't do that stuff, does he?
No, I'm not going to do his inventory for
No,
him.
no, but I mean we have that. No, and the merch czar I just hired, he'll do the inventory. He'll do all that stuff. Well, years ago when I worked, it was after we were together when I worked in my ex-husband's business, I was doing the office thing. He was a computer guy, you remember Walter. I call him Walter. It's not really his name. But anyway, I don't want to get sued. I had to do these spreadsheets in Excel. And I had to get everybody's timesheets and then what the cost of the what we had bid the job out at, and so I had to do these monthly reports and whatever. And I said, the least qualified person for this job has it. I said, you guys are all engineers. You guys are like math whizzes. Why aren't you doing this? Why am I doing this? Well, they didn't want to do that. So, well, what is next for you and for your business?
I have to decide whether to sell or whether to pass it on to my kids or something.
Yeah, and are either of your kids this inclined? One is a graphics guy.
Yeah, one is taking graphic design, but he's been having a lot more fun with the printmaking.
That's what I like.
Yeah. I don't know, and I think they should have some real world experience before they do anyway. So
Mhm.
it would be a few years, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm planning on sticking with it a few more years anyway. I got a lot of improvements and stuff. I've kind of been sitting back and not really doing much. So I got a lot of improvements that I could make, and that would make it more sellable as well. So
Yeah, and the thing about I know marketing and all that, it takes a lot of work, a lot of time with that work. And I think you just did something else that I really loved that has nothing to do with your business. That you were over in Africa and you posted a website I saw, and I bought a woven basket that sits in the middle of our dining room table now.
Oh, nice.
Tell,
With our cats.
well, our cat likes, I put a plant in it, but our cats love to sit in that, and I do not love them to sit in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you were in Uganda, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? What organization that was?
Yeah. So we were what they called ambassadors for a company called Crazy Love Africa. They give grants to single mothers with HIV.
Mm-hmm.
And then the grants help them to start their own businesses. And then on the side too, a lot of the ladies create crafts that they sell to raise money for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, the big goal of our trip, besides meeting them and seeing what it's all about and everything, was basically bringing back, each of us brought back 2 giant suitcases filled with their crafts that they had made over the year.
What is that website? Can you tell me? Are they still available, or are they all sold out?
They're having a 40% off sale right now.
So is the rest of the world.
Yeah, I know.
Economy. What
So,
economy?
I think it's just crazyloveafrica.com probably, but
Okay. All right.
yeah.
Well, that sounds good. There aren't many things called Crazy Love Africa, I'm sure.
And my wife had always wanted to go to Africa. Her parents had made a lot of trips when she was little that she couldn't go on,
Mm-hmm.
and because he was a professor, so they traveled in the summer and stuff.
Hmm.
So she'd always wanted to go, and she heard about this opportunity, and we decided to sign up.
Cool. And did you bring the kids, or did they stay home?
No, they have a separate trip for kids that they're probably going to do like next year or something.
Okay. Well, that sounds great. Anyway, well, it seems like you're pretty busy being a one-man band, but you live a pretty nice life, I think. So I think it's worked out well for you.
Yeah, it's been good. Can I give a little detail on something else?
Yes.
You were talking about the taste of the wires.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I haven't tasted them, but
For when I started, for a long time, there were people on forums and things. I started promoting on forums until the people in the industry really found out what was happening, and then I didn't need to do that anymore because everybody knew about it, and they knew about me and my solution and other people.
oh, you and your solution.
Yes. But for a while, people were out there talking about saying that they used peanut oil in the insulation on the wires.
Uh-huh. And squirrels love peanuts.
Well, yeah, but it's not true.
It's not true.
Okay.
Okay,
No.
dispel that myth. I had no idea that was there.
It's just plastic. They just like to chew. Rodents' teeth grow out at a steady rate, and they have to chew on stuff to keep the teeth worn down. All rodents.
Yeah, I know the gophers in our yard. Some of them haven't certainly chewed on my plants enough because they have some overgrowth on those teeth. They're pretty awful looking.
There you go. And
Yeah.
we had them chewing on our trash bins. And I have a friend who was putting in a fish pond, and he bought it on a Wednesday. And when he went out to install it on a Saturday, they had chewed the entire edge of the fish pond
Yep.
liner. So, yeah, that's just what they do.
Yeah.
And if they've got a nest, they'll particularly do it a lot close to the nest. And if they're nesting under your solar panels, the wires are right there,
Yeah.
and it offers them a really nice, perfect textured thing apparently for them to chew on.
Handy snack.
So yeah,
Well, and it's like, fast food. It's just a little drive-through under that solar panel.
yeah,
So, well, okay. Any other factoids you need to share with us? Because I know you are full of them.
I know. Not that I can think of right now.
Okay. All right. Well, we have learned a lot about solar on this podcast, which I'm all about. So I'm really, really happy about that. I love artists and entrepreneurs and creatives. If they're doing their own thing, that's what I want to hear about. Whatever the thing is, I don't even care.
Yeah.
So,
Well, mine's a little out there, but
well, yours is out there, but I want to, explain to people that, you can have a niche and find a niche and support a family and send kids to college and all kinds of things by being your own boss. And you just got to have the cojones to man up to do it, or woman up.
I used to work with a woman who was maintaining a list of couple graphic designers that she met over the years.
I should have met them. I should have met her.
That's right.
Yeah.
I also have a friend who's a stand-up comedian.
You do?
I should introduce you to her. Yeah.
You should. Oh, another woman there. I'm in a boys' club.
Teresa Roberts Logan.
Teresa, there's a long name. Teresa Roberts. Is she local where you are?
No, I think she's in Virginia now. I'm not sure. She's moved around. She used to be in Denver, but she worked for Hallmark for a long time as a copywriter.
Well, yes, and comedians can write copy, that's for sure, because that's
Yep.
what I used to do, right?
Yep.
I can still write copy. Every time we need something written by us, how'd you think of that so fast? I said, it's just what my brain does.
Right.
I don't have any particular skill or any education in it, just that's what I do.
Well, that's the key, right? Doing what
Yes.
your brain does.
Well, and I haven't really tapped into this part of my brain publicly. So now I am. And
Only privately.
well, Bob said a really nice thing to me many, many years ago when we were first sharing a bed. Before we turned off the lights and we were rolling over to go to sleep, I made some smart remark that made him laugh. And he said, "This is how I want to go to sleep every night." Well, that was
That's
pretty
great.
sweet.
Nice.
So anyway, I don't know if he gets that so much anymore. Not so much laughs.
Yeah, the question is, do you still do it?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah.
Still make him laugh.
Oh yeah, I make him laugh all the time.
That's for sure.
And at ourselves. I mean, he laughs at me too. The other day, I was trying to film something, and he had the knife in his hand, and he's Italian, and he uses his hands to talk. And I couldn't. He was moving the knife. I went, Bob, keep it still. I want to focus on the knife. And he's trying to talk, and he couldn't talk without moving his hand. He didn't know what to do.
Right. Put
So,
that down.
Yeah, so we got a good laugh out of that. But anyway, all right. Well, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for listening. If you like what you're hearing, please share this with a friend and subscribe where you listen to podcasts. Support our efforts through Patreon at TheKnifeWife, and for all Terzuola goodness, go to Terzuola.net. And remember, if you're not laughing, you're not living. Comments and questions can be made on Instagram at TheKnifeWife Podcast or our Facebook group, The KnifeWife Podcast. And if you're a couple who work together and would like to be on our podcast, tell us about yourself with an email at eccentricsuz.com or terzuola.net.